what type of defender he is. And now we get to see Lonzo Ball break loose and show us the flashes of being that showstopper like his little brother is doing down there with the down there in Charlotte as what LaMelo is doing. So I actually love this move.
What do you think, Ramona?
Well, I'm curious.
By the way, we're all like looking. I just want to make the point. We're all like, look at the phone. Look at the phone.
Well, look, all day I've been hearing this could expand. It's not. It could be a sign and trade directly with New Orleans, but this could also turn into a three-way with Charlotte and Devontae Graham going to New Orleans. So let's see where this ends up and get the details on this because, look, Lonzo Ball's a really good player. He improves his three-point shooting this year. He builds a great market for himself. And I think, Zach, we've all been watching this point guard market. Kyle Lowry is at the top of this market. Lonzo Ball is probably number 2 if we were looking at available players here. But now you start getting into, okay, what does this mean for Mike Conley? What does this mean for Chris Paul? What does this mean for Dennis Schroeder, for Spencer Dinwiddie, all the way on down the line? So once one domino falls, you can see where the market is for the others.
Well, Perk, we expect, as we've just said, Kyle Lowry, it's trending toward Miami. Of course, we don't know for sure yet. We will hopefully hear something about that in the next few minutes. But if Lonzo Ball is off to Chicago, where do you see the Pelicans filling in that point guard role? Even if Zion is more of a point center at times this upcoming season, like we saw last season, they still need a PG. Who do you think of the guys available they might want to bring in?
Well, a guy that could shoot the ball, Rachel, from the three-point line. A guy that could also, that you could play with the second unit who could create for himself and go get a bucket. And guess who that guy might be? Reggie Jackson. They call him hot sauce down there with the Clippers. He could definitely be hot sauce down there in New Orleans with all that catfish and crawfish etouffee, baby. So I would keep an eye on Reggie Jackson actually, signing with the Pelicans. It wouldn't be a bad fit.
Well, I know the Clippers have talked about holding on to him, but that is very intriguing. We also have news, our Tim McMahon reporting that, here we go, the crank. Sorry, Director Tommy's in my ear. Crank, yeah, there we go. We got a new deal. I got to announce it. Tim Hardaway, 4 years, $72 million back to Dallas, according to our Tim McMahon. I guess we do the crank, too, for re-signing, right? Why not? We're going to do the crank as much as possible today. What do you when it comes to a potential new deal with the Bulls? He is, of course, entering the last season of his 4-year, $78 million contract, but he can sign an extension this summer, could receive a 4-year, $105 million extension. Of course, if he waits till the next offseason, he could re-sign for more years and more money. But it sounds like he wants to lock up that security now. How does this request affect not only LaVine, Brian, but how the Bulls are approaching free agency overall?
Yeah, this was a great quote. He said, I want my respect, and I respect him wanting his respect because he's outplayed his contract. The Bulls have a very delicate next 2 to 3 days. They have huge free agency aspirations. They are definitely interested in Lonzo Ball to make him the franchise point guard. They even may be able to work a sign and trade with the New Orleans Pelicans if the Pelicans have another option at point guard. They want to make sure they're going to get him if they're going to go after him. But here's where things could get complicated. From what I am told, they are also interested in DeMar DeRozan and are interested in pulling off a possible double sign and trade where they would send Lauri Markkanen to San Antonio and San Antonio would then sign and trade DeMar DeRozan to Chicago. That would import 2 spectacular talents to play alongside Zach LaVine. But it's complicated. A lot of teams want DeMar DeRozan, but they're probably going to need the Spurs' help. Like the Miami Heat talked to the Spurs about signing and trading Andre Iguodala for DeRozan, and the Spurs told them, we have a better offer out there. That better offer could be to acquire Lauri Markkanen. But what Zach LaVine is saying is, look, I'm willing to work with the Bulls front office here, but I want to get paid now. And the only way that can happen really is if the Bulls clear enough cap space to give Zach a raise on this year's salary and then extend off of it, because that $105 million you mentioned is not market value. So in theory, the Bulls could still do those deals and then trade off other players or even cut players to create space and then give Zach LaVine his extension on top of all of that. But pulling all of that off, and it would be a grand slam, is going to be tough. And there may have to be some sacrifices or, letting things go in there. And Zach LaVine may be the guy who has to do that and let an extension pass for now.
So fascinating, a great window into how complicated this is for a lot of front offices. Chris, I can't help but whenever we talk about the Bulls to think about how the franchise's entire path would have changed earlier in the decade when you and Dwayne Wade were considering going there instead. That was a real branch off timeline, low-key sort of moment for that franchise. Instead, they have gone the path that they have, and now they are looking to put some more pieces around Zach LaVine, around Nikola Vucevic, who, of course, was traded there this season. If you're Zach LaVine, do you understand what he's saying, Chris, about how, hey, this is great, but this entire time I've been here, we've been through moving pieces, we've been through coaches. I'd like some money now, please.
Look, I can definitely understand where he's coming from. Individually, he's hitting all the marks. And he's pretty much saying, like, look, pay me, and they should pay that man. Pay that man. And on top of that, there are things you do have to figure it out. I'm not saying that it's easy. But pay that man and put a team around him that they can form for a couple of years. I think sometimes when you're in that position, that he's in, he's had all the individual success. He's playing with the Olympics. He's had all-star appearances, dunk championships. He wants to win, and I'm sure he wants to win now. They have a lot of talent and a very solid core, but I'm sure what he's saying is, on top of paying me, let's put a good team around me, because he is a prolific scorer. He's very good on the offensive end. I think they do have a window with him. And as we've seen in the East, you never know. You could be one free agency signing away or one trade away from getting to the championship. So I think if from where Zach LaVine is coming from, not only does he want to get paid, but he wants to be competitive. And I'm sure it's tough for him to see other guys in his situation, his peers, being in those situations, making deep playoff runs and having that chance because they have a solid team around them as opposed to a revolving door.
And I'll say, back in March, I started hearing about Lonzo Ball with Chicago and Charlotte. And the Charlotte thing is certainly interesting because his brother's there, and I would certainly love to see them two together. And we got to remember that Lonzo is restricted. So, New Orleans is going to see if it's not a sign and trade what this offer sheet is.
Sure.
If they can't find another point guard.
You mean the Bulls? Or
no, I'm talking about New Orleans.
Then they'll want that.
I mean, New Orleans could still match him and force him to stay.
But that's complicated too, because then there's a cap hold. They've got a few days where they can't negotiate with other players until they decide if they're matching with Lonzo or not.
Yeah, but if the free agent market, you're right, Rachel. If the free agent market doesn't seem kind to them in terms of getting a replacement, I don't know. Like New Orleans can't have nobody passing the ball to Zion.
I mean, he is a point center now. I saw that this season. Dave, what do you think for Chicago in terms of whether they do try to make a big offer to Lonzo Ball and hope the Pelicans don't match it, or some of the other scenarios that we've been hearing here?
It can happen and work out sometimes where you go after a restricted free agent and you just end up with it. Daryl Morey with the poison pill, with Jeremy Lin back in the day. There are machinations to go for that. But to me, it's bad business because you're going to deal with those GMs down the line. So I'm more of the fan of the scenario that Brian laid out where there could be a potential sign and trade. But that's going to be threading the needle for the Bulls front office that's relatively new to their regime. And can they get the pie in the sky scenario? It's possible, and it'd be great for the league to have the Bulls to be back in a marquee position. But I think it sounds a little pipe dreamish to me to get all those things to come together.
And that might be why Zach LaVine again says, I just want my respect, which, by the way, I love that it takes that's the LeBron line, of course, from when he won the title. I want my damn respect. And just like I'm taking my talents too, and some of the other phrases that have become popular around the NBA, apparently I want my respect has come in as well. And in Zach LaVine's case, that means some money, and he's certainly entitled to it the way he has played the past couple seasons. Brian, thank you so much for joining us way early from Tokyo. Thank you to Tony.